We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley, Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present except for Mosley.
Thank you. At this time, we will be led in prayer by Councilman Mike Freeman. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilman Malik could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pray together. God, we believe at the very center of our core that you are good, and in our shield, we look to you as our fortress. We look to you as the one who bestows wisdom. Acknowledging you as the great God of all the universe, we do ask tonight that you would impart yourself to us, and that what we do, what we say would be for the sake of others, and that we could truly be people that have an altruistic spirit towards those we serve and towards you. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
To the flag,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
visible liberty, justice for all.
Thank you. The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Can we get a second? Councilwoman Connor,
Second.
roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Abstain.
Amobian,
Aye. Sorry.
okay, Somerville.
Aye.
The minutes pass 11-0 with one abstention by Neal.
Before you, you have the consent agenda. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Can we get a second? Councilwoman Baylor, thank you. Roll
Second.
call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes 12-0.
We have no public hearings scheduled for this evening, so we'll move right into old business. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
I think he's having problems with his
Yeah, Councilman Freeman, can you hear us? And Councilwoman Amobian, can you report for him as the?
I believe we're taking time.
Yes,
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yes, we're taking time. So time will be granted. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
Thank you, President Somerville. The report of the committee's time for item 1 through and including 13. The request of the committee is to file 14. 14 was withdrawn by the petitioner. So request we file that. 15 and 16, the request of committees to file. We've already voted on those items. And then time on the balance of the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That concludes our old business for this evening. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Mayor Horrigan, President Somerville, and Councilman Fusco. Resolution honoring the life of Dorothy O. Jackson and expressing sympathy on her recent passing and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman, are you able to hear us? Okay, seems like he's still having some trouble. Sarah, who's our co-chair?
Which would be Councilman Fusco.
Councilman Fusco, can you report out for Councilman Freeman?
Yes, the request of committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules?
I'd like for us to consider mayor and council as a whole, please.
Very good. And what I'll do right now is we'll kind of open it up to the floor. I do see that we have Mayor online with us. Mayor Horrigan.
Oh, good evening. Thanks for the couple of minutes. I would echo the sentiments of my colleagues from this afternoon. There's really not enough words to describe how much of an influence that I know Dorothy had on a lot of our lives. And I would echo what a lot of people said, is that hopefully we're able to emulate that same giving nature and how she cared for people and really just liked people and was well fit into the job that she always did. And that was to take care of people and look after people. And was truly a dedicated public servant, as many of you know. So thank you for joining me for this. Like I said, it's one small honor that we can do for her, but also I think someone had mentioned too, is to remember that too. Remember that portion about how she treated people and to emulate that to ourselves and to the people that we serve. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mayor Horrigan. Are there any other comments from any other council members at this time? Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. Just that I apologize. I clicked on the wrong thing. I don't know what I did. Yes, thank you. As we all know, truly a trailblazer, one that spoke and fought for those less fortunate than us. And she did it though with grace and dignity. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces. And it was just an honor to have known her, worked with her, and just be in the same room with her oftentimes. So ask for passage this evening, of course.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Amobian does have a motion on the floor for mayor and council as a whole. Can we get a second? We got a second by Councilman McKittrick. Roll call.
Taylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Hamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Mollett.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This passes 12-0 as mayor and council as a whole. Item number 2 is offered by Mayor Horrigan, Councilwoman Amobian, Councilman Neal, Councilwoman Holland, Councilwoman Mosley, and Councilman Mollett. Resolution expressing disappointment in the State Board of Education's repeal of Resolution 20, which condemned racism and promoted equity and opportunity for Black, Indigenous, and other students of color, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
The report of the committees for suspension of the rules with favorable.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to yield to one of the sponsors. I believe Ms. Amobian was the primary sponsor on this.
Thank you, Mr. Fusco. First of all, I just wanted to state that education is extremely critical to a civilized society. And it's important to make sure that we educate all of our children. And in the city of Akron, we have always partnered with our Akron public school system. And we partner in many ways, providing safe school efforts, after school programming, all kinds of meals for children after school and probably before school starts. rebuilding our school system with new buildings, all kinds of efforts. And we would like to join the Akron School Board in questioning, opposing, the resolution 20 that they condemned, replaced with something less significant. Back when this was done, it was based on data that they had collected, showing disparities amongst our children, and saying that we cannot have a school district or a educated society by leaving so many of our children behind. And they talked about the results of testing and all kinds of things that would identify that children were not being well educated. And also at that time, they declared racism a public health crisis, like most of the organizations across the city, the state of Ohio. And that was during the time of the murder of George Floyd. And nothing significant has happened to change this. That is why we're saying that there is no room to politicize education. And this is all this is about. And for me, as an African American woman, most of my history I've learned later in life. It is time for us to teach history to children in an accurate manner. And I think this is what Resolution 20 was all about, is looking at how we have done things and trying to make some corrections. And instead, they repealed it. And we are joining forces with Akron Public School District and actually denying that and saying that that should be done. And the replacement is not significant enough. So with that, I will yield to the other sponsors, please.
Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to join Councilwoman Amobian in her remarks. And I would also say that as a proud parent of 3 graduates of the Akron Public Schools and a longtime supporter of the Akron Public Schools and all that they provide for our children and for our future as a city, that really what we need to be looking at here is the primary purpose of public education, which is to teach and prepare children to be part of society, to prepare them to be the good citizens that we will need in the future. This is what this resolution is about. This is about standing up for the future, for the citizens of the future, and also standing in support of our Akron Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Malik.
I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues and say that I hope that, this is something that we can continue to confront, because I think sadly, this is not something that's going to go away anytime soon. We see all around the country, there are folks who are resisting, having a clear, honest look at our history. And so I think that's going to be with us for a long time.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman, we may have lost him, might be trying to get back in. We can come back to him if that's okay.
Yes.
Lesko,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Councilman Freeman, I know we lost you there for a minute. We are voting on resolution number 2. Like he's still connecting to audio.
We'll proceed. I see that he's not on anymore.
It's past 11-0. Item number 3 is offered by Councilwoman Amobian and Councilwoman Holland. Resolution recognizing Mei Chen and congratulating her on her induction into the Cleveland International Hall of Fame and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. The report of the committee is for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, I'd like to again refer to the primary sponsor, Ms. Mobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, as I stated earlier this afternoon, Mei Chen is a great colleague and a dear friend who took it upon herself many years ago to bring about resources for the Asian American community. And if you've ever had an opportunity to visit the agency, I visited the agency when it was on Carroll Street, and they have since moved to larger quarters at the corner of, I think it's Forge and East Market, in a newer facility, and they've expanded services. They're not only located in Akron, but they're located in Cleveland. And they've also encompassed the federally qualified health care, which is free health care for the clients of that organization. And they are now with their third CEO, but it was Mei Chen who started this organization and made it possible for another specialized group that was in need of services to serve their community. And because there were none, I mean, there were probably a few at different agencies, but nothing like the Asian Inc. Services that she created. And this is a well-deserved honor for her. And as city council members, I know we applaud and salute her for what she did to bring about this organization. And thank her very much and congratulate her on the being installed into the Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Holland, I think I saw your hand.
Thank you, Madam President. I certainly join Councilwoman Amobian's observations about Mei Chen. And I would add that Mei Chen's level of long-term tenacity and her organizing and advocacy work is the kind of commitment, the level of commitment and energy that can literally change the world. She has done so much for our Asian brothers and sisters here and in Cleveland, throughout the region. And that work inevitably raises all of us up. I'm grateful the work that she's done here. I'm grateful for that inevitable ripple effect that it has on all of us and for the lifting up of the entire city. Congratulations, Mei Chen, on induction to the Hall of Fame. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Madam President, I would also like, because we are a welcoming community, I would think that mayor and council as a whole would like to join us in recognizing and honoring her.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, roll call.
Taylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Passes 12-0, mayor and council as a whole. Item number 4 is offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a non-exclusive lease agreement with Akron Children's Hospital in order to facilitate funding from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources in order to construct an Americans with Disabilities Act ADA compliant playground at Perkins Park and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 5 offered by Fusco, ordinance accepting a vacation plat for a portion of North Canal Street west of North Howard Street, declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda, brief explanation, had a conversation with the ward council person who's in favor.
thank you so much. This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the mayor to file an application with assurances and certifications with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the Continuum of Care Planning Grant application for Stuart B. McKinney Funds for the Homeless and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. The report of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is requesting approximately, I believe, $180,000 or so. In the past, the city was the administrators of the almost $6 million that we used to receive, that we received from the federal government in reference to the continuum of care. The continuum of care is now operating and administrating these funds, and this is simply to pay for that, so that we could, since they can administrate these funds that we receive and make sure they're spent the best possible way. So with that, we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Taylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Mobian,
I have to abstain. I work for one of the organizations.
Somerville.
Aye.
This passes 11-0 with one abstention. Item number 7 is offered by Kamer. Resolution declaring it necessary to improve Arlington Street between the termini of Erickson Avenue and Munson Street by resurfacing and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is to place this item on the consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 8, offered by Mayor Horgan. Resolution approving and confirming the appointment of Dana K. Lagarde to the Metro Regional Transit Authority Board of Trustees and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. The city of Akron's allowed 6 appointments to this board. We just had a vacated spot, and this will fill that spot, please.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Taylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Mobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Passes 12-0.
That concludes our new legislation for this evening. We'll now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. And do we have John Beatty in the room with us? I see him now.
We do.
And Davida Ideen?
We do. Looks like she's connecting to audio still.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mr. Beatty, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
And I see that we do have Mrs. Ideen on with us. Perfect. So right now we're going to go into the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. Just going to ask that you please state your name. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. We want you just to be reminded that this is an official meeting, so you should keep your remarks respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from this meeting. Before we proceed with your comments, I'm just going to ask that both of you be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Okay, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, please answer, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Ideen, we're going to start with you. Mrs. Ideen, can you hear me? Mrs. Ideen, can you hear me? And she might be having some issues with her audio. Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
we'll let you go ahead and proceed with your comments at this time.
Okay. I tried to get on last week and I was not able to, so I'm going to share what I was going to say last week. Dear Madam President and members of council, my name is John R. Beatty. I live at 2047 Wyndham Road, Akron, Ward 8. I want to share with you my thoughts on ARPA funds and the poor. Please make sure that all of the council is well informed about expenditure of ARPA funds before you're asked to make decisions like the one the majority of you made last week to okay contracting with the for-profit consulting corporation Guidehouse. That decision was made without setting a limit to what they might spend for helping us spend our ARPA funds. Surely the council could have set a limit on their take before okaying the contract. When it comes to selecting on what the city government might spend, I hope the council will remember the poorest among us rather than the richest among us. Not that we should forget them, but we should not favor them over the poor. The city administration already has made a decision to bequeath millions of dollars on the richest among us by giving them a property tax break for, I believe, 15 years for just building a new mansion, relatively speaking, or fixing one or adding to one within the city limits. I noticed in the paper that this policy has not reversed the bleeding of our population to the suburbs. I believe $1 to the poor will bring more positive relief than $100 to the rich. Now we have $145 million to spend judiciously. 1/100 of $145 million is $1.45 million. Will the poor be shortchanged again in favor of subsidizing the rich? We know the cheapest and most effective way to help the poorest of the poor, the homeless, is to provide them a house to call home. 1/100 of $145 million could solve the problem of long-term homelessness in Akron. I have a dream. It came to me one time early in the morning. I don't know if God gave it to me or not, but here it is. Rather than spending money on the police to chase the homeless from one woods to the next and to confiscate the only belongings they have left, why not build a village for the houseless on public city property that is close to a woods? Maybe build a nice wrought iron fence, not to incarcerate them, but to provide security from those who might harm them. Have security cameras for the police or a security firm.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. Mrs. Ideen, can you hear me now? Okay, take yourself off mute and you can bring forth your comments.
Hello, everyone. My name is Davita Dean, and my comment is my concern is the student safety inside the schools and alternative solutions for students who are faced with being related and prior or current friends with students, school eligible students who are active in street violence. Damage control would be to meet these students where they are in current life struggles and issues and help assist them and guide them to where they want and need to be with a better off plan for the day, week, month, year when faced with these issues of coping with death of sisters, brothers, parents, and friends, losing friend relationships due to choices, social media battles of slander, insecurities, comparison, humiliation, which leads to bullying, family fights, worse suicidal thoughts and acts. to keep these students on track, we should allow, or you guys should allow us as certified life coaches and youth program leaders in these high schools and middle schools to address these issues head on. Doing this will provide the teachers with less emotional students playing referee to unnecessary fighting, or try to deal with making sure that they show the right amount of empathy or not enough favor dealing with these boys and the student body, period. Football coaches are scared or trying to stand up and yes or no students, but faced with the heavy heart, if the student who wants to be involved in football, but is also involved in street violence. If he was playing football, then maybe he's not hanging out and things like that, but that also brings the street violence to that football field as well. There's no more peer mediation. There's no more parent interventions that they do, because I've been faced with multiple situations and I'm like, can't these students talk this out? We don't do peer mediation no more. Well, can I talk to this parent? Well, we have to make sure that the parent wants to see you because of this and that, because of all the violence. And I just feel like without it being counselors to talk about current home situations or things like that, if we allow these youth leaders and life coaches to come and encourage these kids from where they're at, dealing with the issues that they are faced with right now, and get them where they need to be for the right now, instead of all the thinking about trauma, or they can't focus with all this going on. They are faced with death daily. It's becoming a common norm. And until the police and everything get that under control, these students need to be able to deal with this right now and still be able to focus on graduation or working or the highlights of high school. They're not able to. A picture right now had boys at Firestone with guns. My son goes to that school. So it's a very big and serious issue for me, because some of these kids are faced with this and they're not even a part of it. And they need to learn how to deal with it and make proper decisions on how to navigate around it, because it's inside our schools very heavy. And that's
Thank
what I
you.
have to say about that.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ideen.
You're welcome.
That concludes our public comments for this evening. We'll now move into committee assignments. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
1.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal.
145.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
2:45.
Rules Committee, Councilman Freeman.
2 p.m.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Public Service. Who's our co-chair for Public Service?
Councilman Kamer.
Me,
Councilman Kamer.
2 p.m.
Thank you so much. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to call.
And Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
2:15.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else coming before council? Councilman McKittrick.
Thank you, President Somerville. A few days ago was First Responder Appreciation Day. Our first responders, they miss holidays, they miss birthdays, they miss milestone days. Taking one day out of the year for that appreciation is a nice thing, but with the sacrifices that they make, they should be appreciated constantly. With that being said, over the weekend, we had 2 of our own police officers that were injured in 2 separate incidents. I do greatly appreciate their service, and just want it to be known that I wish them a quick and full recovery from their injuries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman McKittrick, for sharing that. Is there anything else coming before council at this time? Councilman Fusco?
Motion to adjourn.
If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.